Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we'll be learning how to make this 3-piece cupped corset. Please support my channel by liking my video, leaving a comment and subscribing, and also share so others can find me. Thank you. Starting out this pattern with my basic bodice. You can check out my video on how I made this simple bodice pattern if you haven't already seen it. So the first thing I did was to extend my bust point line upward, and now I'm adding extra pattern paper to extend the length of the bodice. I came down by 9 inches, which is my hip line, and drew a line across. I inserted my hip measurements divided by 4 plus a 2-inch that I already had on the pattern paper. I'll connect that straight up to my waistline and cut out the extra paper. Here I'm just extending the dart legs. Now I'll determine how high or low I want the top to sit on my chest, and I chose to use 7 inches from my shoulder. I drew a line across on the 7-inch mark and labeled it over bust. And on the center front, I'll find the middle between the over bust line and the bust line and mark 0.5 inch inward. For this next step, you could either do it by freehand or use your curved rule to draw a curve along the over bust line onto the armhole depth. Now I'll mark 1 inch upward from the bust point. Then on the over bust curve, I'll mark 0.6 inch on both sides of the bust point line I extended earlier and connect them back to the 1 inch I just marked above the bust point. At 0.5 inch by the center front, I'll make a curve to the under bust. I'll cut open the under bust dart and seal up the side bust dart. And then I'll mark 1 inch from the side of the over bust line, and from there I'll make another curve down to the under bust. Next, I'll cut off the top of the paper and close the over bust dart. You'll notice that the curve doesn't match up anymore, so I just went ahead to erase the lines I had before and recreated the curve to blend. So on the center front cup, I'll go down by 2.5 inches and mark it, and on the bust point line I went down by 2 inches and connected both marks with a curve resembling the over bust curve. I'll repeat the same step on the side cup. I used 2.5 inches to meet up the 2 inches on the bust line. I'm just going to label each piece of the cups and then separate them from the body pattern. Please like this video, drop a comment for me, subscribe to my channel, and share this video so other people can find me. Thank you. So this is what the cup looks like now. I just use an arrow to indicate where I'll be joining each seam line to create the cup. I'll set that aside and bring back the body pieces. I cut out the darts and then join them together with a sellotape. Now the length of the top is 20 inches. So I marked 20 inches on the center front, and then on the side seam I marked 18 inches because I want to give it a slight curve. For the boning channels, I'll mark 1 inch from the center front and connect it back to the top of the original dart line where I joined the body pieces together. For the next line, I'll mark 2 inches away from the first one and connect it to my armhole curve. Now you could choose to connect it straight to the cup area, but I decided to draw mine to my armhole curve so it can have a more slanted look. I'll label these also and cut them out, and our front pattern is done. For the back piece, the first thing I'll do also is to extend the length of the top. Then I'll insert my hip measurement but without the dart and connect it back to my waistline. For the center back length, I'm using 19 inches and 18 inches for the side so it matches up with the front. I'll also be using a blunt curve for this. Now I'll extend the dart line. And the zip bulge dart. Now I'll draw a line across from the armhole and go down from it by 0.7 inches. The back always looks better when you do this step. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take out some of the back for lacing. Typically what I do is I take out 2 inches if I'll be using eyelets and 2.5 inches if I'll use loops. And for this I'll be using loops, so 2.5 inches. I'll mark that out, and that's the piece I'll use for my modesty panel. I'll cut 2 separate pieces and sew them together at the center. I'm just going to mark another line for a second boning channel because I'll be using the dart line as one boning channel. So I'll just cut out the excess paper, label each piece, and then separate them. And that's it for the back piece. So for the sleeves, I'll just explain it and walk you through with the measurements I'll be using here. So what we're going to do is minus our shoulder measurement times 2 from our shoulder circumference. That's the off-shoulder measurement. Then whatever we get, we'll divide it by 2, then times that by 3. So here's what I just said. My shoulder circumference is 39, while my shoulder measurement is 14 and sleeve length is 10. So it's going to be shoulder times 2, that's 14 times 2, and that will give me 28. And then my shoulder circumference, which is 39 minus 28, and that will give me 11 inches. And that's meant for both of the sleeves. I'm going to divide that 11 by 2. That will give me 5.5 inches. So I'll do 5.5 times 3. And that's going to give me 16.5 inches. So our sleeve width is going to be 16.5 inches. And then the sleeve length will be 10 inches. So in my next video, I'll show you how I cut and make a top with this pattern.